Hi everybody of the vinyl community, John back here for, it's definitely going to be my last video of the year. I had meant to try and squeeze a video or two out between my last video and the end of the year, but hey, it's Christmas and I just didn't get that opportunity. But this is a video that I wanted to make because I'm going to show my favourite record of the year, definitely the record that I deem as being the best release of this year, and share that with you. So the theme of this particular video is going to be prog, progressive rock. Progressive rock is something that I really do enjoy, and over this year I have listened to an awful lot of prog. Although the majority of it has been on CD. I've spoken about how I like to go out and walk my dog for long walks, and at this time of life, in my life anyway, is the best time to sort of have quality listening time is while I'm out walking with listening to music on my headphones. Kids at home, one reason or another, whether it be COVID or Christmas holidays, wife at home working because the university is sort of shut down, has been for most of the year, and so it's a difficult time to really kind of have quality listening time at home. So I will show more progressive rock albums on CD in the coming weeks, I expect. But right now I'm going to start with the records. So Rickard Sjöblom. Rickard is a Swedish guy. He plays, at the moment he's a member of Big Train, but he used to be, the band leader of one of my favourite bands, Beardfish. And they split up about 3 or 4 years ago now, I think, because they got to a point in their lives where they weren't able to commit to the band the way they had at the beginning, so they sort of split up, and Rickard Sjöblom, being basically the main player, I guess, sort of continued making his own music in a similar vein to Beardfish, I must say, but he does it under the name of Gungfly, or Rickard Sjöblom's Gungfly. And he's knocking out pretty much an album every year these days. This is one that came out this year. What do I think of it? Well, I'm always excited when there's a new release by Rickard, but I don't know, this one wasn't particularly brilliant. It's not that it was a bad record, but he's made better music before, put it that way. And I wasn't that impressed with his vocal performance on this. I'm not particularly critical of people's ability to sing or anything like that, but in my mind, he's always had such a very sort of pure, clear, clean voice, but he doesn't really seem to be in great command of it in this particular album. Still, there are some great tracks on here. What I really like about his releases, when he releases them, is that you buy the album, it comes along with a free CD, normally tucked inside here. I've got my free CD in the car at the moment, but that's always good, because you can listen to the album if you have the opportunity at home, and you can listen to the CD while you're out walking your dog, for instance. Anyway, so that's Rickard Sjöblom. Try next I'm going to show you Barclay James' Harvest. Yeah, I've always sort of, I don't know, held this band at arm's length. This album, I will say, was quite a pleasant surprise. Probably, so at least in my experience, it seems to be the most accessible album that I've heard of theirs. Because their albums are, I guess it all comes down to the subtlety in their music. They have these sort of nice or gentle floating songs with kind of gentle floating lyrics and melodies. There are very few peaks and troughs, if you like. And I should imagine that it can take a while to really kind of learn to absorb some of the melodies in the songs, purely because they're just so long-winded, I guess. But this one seems to be a bit easier to enjoy. It's a lovely cover. I don't think this has ever been a gatefold sleeve, I don't know, but this sadly isn't a gatefold sleeve. Like I said, it's their 6th studio album, and there's a track on here, what was it called now? Yeah, there's a track on here called Titles, which is a song entirely made up by Beatles song titles. So the lyrics of the song, for instance, are just like a long string of Beatles song titles arranged in such a way that it sounds like a lyrics of a song. It's an interesting idea, I suppose, but I don't know, it feels a little bit naff. I don't know, maybe it's a bit brown nosy towards the Beatles, or maybe it's just I don't know, there's even a little bit juvenile, I would say. I don't know, but aside from that, it's quite a nice album, and I'm glad to have found this when I did. So the next album I'm going to show is Todd Rundgren's Utopia. This is a record that I've pretty much all year kind of been sort of hankering after. I felt pretty sure early on in this year that I had a copy of this, and I was reading up about it, and I went to my shelves to pull it out and give it a listen, give it a spin, and was surprised to see that I didn't have it. And I thought, well, maybe I lent it to someone. I keep a couple of databases of my records and CDs, look through those, and I couldn't see that I'd actually ever entered this album in my databases. So it turns out, no, I obviously didn't have it. So once I'd learned that, well, I really want to get it. And I'd sort of looked out at a few places. I couldn't find one that really sort of fitted my price. And then I spied one at a sort of like an antique small type place. They were asking, I think, £20 for it. And I thought, well, if all else fails, I'll get that one. But then fortunately, this copy that I have now turned up while I was back in Essex visiting my parents on my mum's birthday week. I found it in an Oxfam shop. And Oxfam, they do tend to charge a bit more for their material, but they do a better job of cataloguing it and presenting it and that sort of stuff. So I paid £8 for this, which is not a bad amount of money, because I've seen it going for a lot more, and it's in very good shape. So this is the first album by this band Utopia, and of course in the beginning it was called Todd Rundgren's Utopia. I think they dropped the Todd Rundgren eventually and just called themselves Utopia, but essentially it is a Todd Rundgren album. And this one really packs a punch. It's very much in your face, and I've heard sort of people whilst writing about it say how he's managed to pack an awful lot of music onto this album. It is quite a challenging listen, I will say. I really do look forward to penetrating this record and getting to know it inside out. I think that's quite an experience apparently. But at the moment, I just don't have the opportunity to listen to this at home. It's a difficult one. Utopia or Todd Rundgren is, I would say they fit well into that category of what James Griffiths sort of listed as albums I wish I knew better. I wish I knew his music much better. I don't know, I just don't seem to kind of be able to get past the first sort of listen or two with his music. I guess you just need to kind of really spend a lot more sort of focused time on it perhaps. But yeah, this is on record and I don't have it on CD, so I won't be able to listen to it while I'm out walking a dog, sadly. But, well, it's something to look forward to. Maybe that could be part of my New Year's resolution for next year, to see if I can crack this record. What more could I say about this? I will say this, it's only got 4 tracks on it, and the last track, or side 2, is one continuous track. It goes on for 30 minutes. Now, for someone that likes progressive rock, that's always a good sign that you've got some amazing epic music to listen to. Yeah, but again, that kind of length takes a long time to really crack. Earlier this year in one of the shops that I go to, they had a new batch of records in recently, and I just happened to turn up at the right time to get the good stuff before it got picked through, and this is one of those. This is an album by Graaff Generator. It's their 8th studio album. I don't know much about Graaff Generator, except that they're, people that really like them, don't they? So this is the last album they made in the 70s, and after this they didn't make anything at all. I guess people just assumed that was sort of the end of their career as a band, but they did reform and get back together and start making music in the about 2005, I think. So when this came out, for the longest time people would have just said that's their last album. It's called The Quiet Zone and the Pleasure Dome. I quite like the way they've done this. And sadly, the front cover's a bit damaged. This looks like it's ripped. It's not ripped at all, but the album that it was stuck to ripped, and so this is sort of the remains of the record cover that it was stuck to. So that's a bit sad, but I keep on rubbing it, and now and again flakes come off. It comes with a nice lyric sheet. And that's on famous Charisma label. Yeah, Van der Graaff, they're another band that they take a lot of listening. You can't just sort of pick up one of their records and listen to it once and say, oh, I like this one. You really got to indulge it with your time and attention, and focus, give it some quality time, and in time sort of eventually reveals itself. The only one I have of theirs that I can say that I know particularly intimately is Pawn Hearts, which is a classic of the progressive rock genre. Look forward to really getting into this, but I like the way, because of the name of the album, Quiet Zone and the Pleasure Dome, they have it named up here on the corner of the record, and underneath it says the name of the tracks. And so they've got the Quiet Zone on this side, Lizard, Habit, Siren, Frame on this side, and on this side, which is the Pleasure Dome, it says Wave, Fever, Sinks, Chemical Sinks. I quite like that, it's quite special. So the last album I'm going to show, this is my number one album of the year, and it is Wobbler. This is easily the best album that I've heard this year. Love it to bits, really good. I've been saying a lot just during this video about having the quality of time to really listen to this kind of music, to really sort of become intimate with it. I haven't had that much, not while I'm at home anyway, but I have managed to become very familiar with this. And I guess that's purely because of its quality. It's a brilliant record. So it's the 5th studio album, and they've got a relatively new vocalist. I say relatively new, I mean, yeah, this is the 3rd one of their albums that he's appeared on now, so yeah. But I was unaware of that. I learnt that just this time. So this new vocalist does a lot to sort of bring an element of accessibility into the music, because their earlier stuff really was quite complex and tough to crack. And there are moments on this where, it's just, you don't have to try hard to listen to it. It just sort of floats into you. Even my wife quite enjoyed some of this when I was playing it one night. Which is unusual because she normally just shuts off when I play anything like this. But she sort of looked up and said, "Oh, that was really nice. That was really good." And the track that I'm going to draw attention to now is called 5 Rooms. There's only 4 tracks on this album, and 5 Rooms, I think they've released as a single. There's even a video on YouTube. I'll put a card to it up here, and recommend anyone go and have a look at that. The song and its structure reminds me very much of that very long track by Yes called the Gates of Delirium on the Relaya album. I mean, that's 20 odd minutes long, and this is only, I think, just under 9 minutes long. But the way the Relaya song builds up and builds up and builds up, and then around about the last quarter of that song, you get you get the payoff, you get the hook that has been sort of hanging there, but you've been teased with right up to the last bit, and then you get this tremendous hook, and it sort of builds up to this big crescendo at the end of the song. 5 Rooms is a bit like that. It's quite an enjoyable passage all the way through the song, and then about the last third, the last quarter, you get that hook, and it's sort of beautifully delivered, and it sinks right in you. I wouldn't say it's an earworm, because you only hear it once or twice, but it really does make for the song, and once it sinks into you, that's it. It's there for a while, and it's lovely. It's really very, very nice, beautifully crafted piece of music there. So yeah, Wobbler. Dwellers of the Deep. This is my #1 album of this year, and yeah, I can't recommend it more than that. I will show you what the inner sleeve looks like. This is a beautiful picture here. Custom label. The Wobbler comes from Norway, and yeah, this is a very good example of what they call Scandi prog. Progressive rock from Scandinavia. It has a very sort of organic quality to it. They purposely use analog production and analog instruments. They take a lot of pride in sourcing sort of original instruments from, you know, the late 60s, 70s classic period, and using those. And it really pays off because it just sounds beautiful. You could even think that this possibly could have been made in the 70s golden era of classic progressive rock. But aside from that, it's not. It's completely modern, and I'm very happy that they released it. Okay, everybody. Well, so that's my showing of progressive rock from, yeah, at least the second half of this year. Hope it wasn't too dull for you that perhaps aren't necessarily interested in progressive rock, and give a little call out to some of the people that I've been enjoying watching. New people that started this year. Let's see if I can find names. Vinyl Dale and his search for the Vinyl Grail, also known as Simon. I think this was his first year. I think I learned to know his channel in the beginning of this year, so call out to Simon. Doing a great job, Simon, really enjoying your videos. And then there's another guy from Scotland, Scott Spinner. Hi George, enjoying your videos as well, show some really interesting stuff. I learned a lot from George's videos because he shows records that I never heard of often enough, and that's nice to see. Then there's a Canadian chap, Roberts, on my turntable. Been watching him quite a lot. He's relatively new to the VC, I believe. Been showing his records and his CDs. And another one is George Allen. I don't know how long George Allen's been around, but he's doing a nice job of showing some of his favourite records and talking about you know, ones that he's had for a long time. And yeah, it's always really nice to engage in conversation with these new people, to sort of learn a little bit about where they're coming from, you know, what kind of music they like, and then they share some of their memories of you know, certain albums from way back when. That's always really nice to hear. Okay everybody, that's going to be the end of my VC video for this year. Thank you very much for all my subscribers, and I'd like to wish you all a Happy New Year for next year. Let's hope it's a better year than this past year has been. So with that, I'll say thank you very much. Check out my next video. Bye.